Hello. So, our new topic for the course is feasibility analysis, the startup feasibility analysis. In this chapter, or you can say in this lecture, we are going to discuss the different aspects of a business that you need to check before you start investing the money in your idea. There are multiple dimensions of a startup. For example, there is the product side of the business, there is the industry or the market side of the business, there is the organizational side of the business, and equally important, the financial side of the business. So these are the four different dimensions of the business that you need to check before putting in any money in start of the business. This is important actually. The reason for this is, let's say there is some legal procedure or complete ban on producing certain products and you do not know that. So conducting a market feasibility analysis will probably reveal the fact that these products are not allowed in the market by the government. And in some cases, you need some special certificates or some special license to start producing those products. Uh, uh, but if you don't know and you start investing the money in the infrastructure and hiring the people and getting loan from the banks, and then you finally come across the reality that you cannot even produce this uh, product or the license to start producing this particular product costs so much money, then definitely you are in trouble, right? So that is the reason we conduct the feasibility analysis before launching our business or before putting in so much money in the start of the business, right? So let's go. What is feasibility analysis? So feasibility analysis is actually the process uh, to check whether a business idea is viable or not, right? And as I mentioned before, there are four different aspects of checking the feasibility or the viability of the business. It is basically the preliminary evaluation of a business idea conducted for the purpose of determining whether the idea is worth pursuing or not, right? So if your feasibility analysis tells you no, it is not a good idea to pursue, so you should stop there and consider another idea. Or if it requires certain licensing or certain resources which are hard to get, so then you should probably check getting those resources first. And if those are easy to get, then probably you should consider starting the business after you have this confidence or you have this surety that you can get those resources when the time comes, right? About the timing of the feasibility analysis, yes, actually it is before you start your business and before investing some money in the implementation of the idea, right? So this is the diagram that is actually the overall summary of the lecture, feasibility analysis, right? So for example, there is proposed business venture, then spending the time and the resources necessary to move forward with the business idea depends on actually these four aspects of the analysis or the feasibility analysis. One, product or service feasibility, industry or target market feasibility, organizational feasibility, financial feasibility. So if you get yes for all these four areas, then definitely you should proceed with the business plan, right? And if even one of the area says no, so then probably you should drop or rethink or reevaluate your business idea. But again, you should keep in mind that even if all these areas says yes and it is a feasible idea, still there are lots of other factors. For example, your personality, the competition in the market, the technology changes, even the government legislation changes, and sometimes even probably a pandemic can come and it can hurt the market, right? So uh, actually this is the feasibility analysis basically is about the risk management of the business, and it doesn't guarantee any success in the future. If you could control all these factors, right, still you need to do something different. As we mentioned before, Entrepreneurship or starting the business is both the science and the art of doing the business, right? So this is the science part. The feasibility analysis is the science part of the uh, business, right? And it is an art at the same time. Yes, so again, the summary. This is a little bit more detailed version of the summary, right? So in the part one, the product feasibility analysis or the product or service feasibility analysis has two different aspects. One is the product desirability and the other one is the product service demand. I would explain, I would tell it like this, that in economics we say demand is the willingness and the affordability of the people to buy a particular commodity. Right. So the product desirability is actually the willingness of the consumer. Yes, they actually desire this product. And the other aspect of the demand, which is equally important, is the affordability or the purchasing power of the target customers, right? Whether they have the money to buy your product or not. If they don't have the money, so it's just only a wish, which is like good for them if you give it for no cost at all or zero price to them, they will be happy. But again, you will not be happy, and not even your investors or funders or stakeholders will not be happy, right? So you don't want that for the business. You want sustainability for the business. So you want some revenue and continuous revenue for the business. The other aspect of the industry, the feasibility analysis, the industry analysis. One is the industry attractiveness, and the other part is the target market attractiveness, right? And we'll discuss this in detail. The third part is the organizational feasibility, the management expertise, and the resources efficiency. Remember, this is the non-financial resources, for example, the raw material availability, right? An office space in a particular locality. And at the same time, this could be a particular machinery or particular kind of a license that is required. So, yes, these are the non-financial resources efficiency. The fourth part of the feasibility analysis is the financial feasibility. One, the total startup cash that is required, and the two, the financial performance of the similar businesses, and the third one is the overall financial attractiveness of the proposed venture, right? Let's say you wanted to be a millionaire in the coming 5 years, let's say, right? So whether or not this venture is going to give you that much revenue, that much income, that you become a millionaire in 5 years' time, right? For example, you wanted to become the market leader in this particular area, for this particular segment of the market, right? So whether or not your products or your prices or your customers are paying you enough to make you the market leader in whatever time you have decided for yourself, right? So this is that aspect of the financial feasibility. And definitely the overall assessment and the overall feel about this business, whether or not you are going to get uh, into the market or not, right? So that is the overall assessment of the business. So we'll start one by one. So let's start and discuss the different aspects, the different sides of the feasibility analysis, I would say, right? So the first one is the product or the service feasibility analysis. Its purpose is basically you assess whether the overall appeal of the product is good or not, right? So before a prospective firm rushes to a new product or service in development, it should be sure, the firm should be sure that the product or service is what prospective customers want, right? And how do you find that? There are different surveys. I would share the different types of surveys that you conduct before launch of before even you start preparing that software or developing that software or any other kind of the product. So these are some of the questions that you should ask during the product feasibility analysis. One, does the product make any sense? Is it reasonable? right? Is it something that the customers will get excited about, right? It means whether you are producing something which the customers were looking for certain for a continuous period of time, and they were unable to find that product, right? So definitely when they hear the news about the product, so they'll be excited. The second aspect is the does it take advantage of environmental trend? For example, we have pandemic these days, right? So any solution in the education sector or in the health sector which is about the online education system or home tutoring or online doctor consultancy, whatever, right? So these are the environmental trends. So any startup producing similar kind of services, right? They'll be it will be quick hits in the market, I would say, right? And so similarly, when it comes to the offline businesses such as the delivery services, right? So again, that is according to the environmental trend, right? So it will be a huge boost for your start if it is as per the environmental trend. Solve a problem. Are you really solving a problem? Are you take advantage of a gap in the market, right? So these are the questions that you should ask during the product or service feasibility analysis. Well, another aspect is this is a good time to introduce the product or service to the market, right? So definitely the timing is important, whether or not the, there is no market for the product because the technology has shifted permanently, or it is such a futuristic idea that the relevant technology is not available in the market at this time, right? So timing is equally important when considering the product or service feasibility. And then definitely when it comes to the product itself, so the different products that you talk about are there any fatal risks or fatal flaws in the market? For example, your software when downloaded, they don't create any problems or security issues for the existing infrastructure, IT infrastructure of the business. Whether your software is compatible with the existing infrastructure of the target customers or not, right? Let's say your target customers are using iOS and you develop the application in the Android, right? Definitely, so it's not compatible with the system, right? So there are many different examples where the companies failed because their systems were not compatible with the existing infrastructure of the target customers. The second important thing that is important is how to find the product or service desirability in your target market, right? So the first thing that you should do is administer a concept test. A concept test is basically a one-page description of a business that is distributed to the people, probably your family members, probably your colleagues, probably your mentors, and are probably your target customers. And then you ask them to read this product statement, right? Or the concept statement, whether it makes any sense or not, right? So their feedback will definitely help you guys. Uh, this is the example of concept statement, right? So this is a hypothetical product, its target market. It's about basically the fitness drinks, new venture fitness drinks incorporation, right? So the reason why you are coming up with this idea, right? How it is that is different from the rest of the consumers, right? Sorry, not the consumers actually, but basically the target customers, right? Like this one, right? Oh, right. And regarding the management team, right? So this is just one page of description of your business idea. So you should check it with your friends and colleagues too, and their feedback will definitely give you an idea whether your business makes any sense or not, or your product makes any sense or not. The second aspect of the product feasibility analysis is the customer side, their purchasing side, basically. Uh, there are two different aspects of this, how to do that. The step one is basically you talk face to face with the potential customers, right? You go to the target markets. For example, if it is a B2B business, so then the good way to do is that you visit the offices of your target customers. If you are producing some solutions for the banks, let's say, so you should go and meet uh, the head or the particular person in the organization who is responsible for the purchase of that product. Let's say you are selling them some stationery or a photostat machine, right? So then definitely you go to the inventory department or the procurement department, and you go and meet the head of the inventory department. At the same time, it is also important that you go and meet the finance department at the same time, because it will be these guys who will release the money for the purchase of the particular machinery or particular stationery, let's say, right? So meeting them is also important. So asking them whether or not they will be ready to buy your product or not, and then definitely your value proposition, why they are going to buy your product. Do you give them efficiency? Do you give them low cost? Are you helping them saving some money, right? So finance guys are more important with this. But if you are going to meet those guys who will actually use these photostat machines, maybe the office staff or whoever, right? So they'll be more interested in the efficiency. Well, they can only advocate, but they will definitely, they do not have any like any important say in the final purchase of the machinery, right? So then you decide whom to meet and how to convince them to buy your product, right? So face-to-face meeting with the potential customers is really important. If you do not have that kind of product, and for example, if it is like $2, $3 product, and you cannot afford meeting too many or too few customers, and so then another good way to do is the online surveys. For example, posting something on your Facebook page and asking your followers, asking your friends to give a feedback on basically whatever you are selling. All right. So if the guys are in your Facebook account, or maybe in your email list, or maybe in your WhatsApp numbers, right? So you should basically target them, and then you should check with them whether there is any demand in your target customers or not, right? So the basic purpose is to assess the demand for your particular product, right? And this is some more detail about those surveys and getting the feedback, or getting to know whether there's a demand for your product or not. Apart from them, there are different online tools like Google AdWords and landing pages. So to do that, and there are different market research, Google Trends you can take help from. Then there are SurveyMonkey, Google Consumer Surveys, and there is Quora, there is Stack Overflow. So all of these are basically the different online tools that is going to help you with the product service demand feasibility analysis. Clear? So now we move to the second aspect of the feasibility analysis, which is the industry or the target market feasibility analysis. I hope you guys know the difference between the industry and the market, or maybe your target market, right? So industry is the broader version. Let's say education sector. So in education sector, all the universities, colleges, schools, universities, they basically tuition centers, online, offline, all of them online, teaching academies and websites and platforms. Basically they make together the education industry, right? But let's say you are producing a software that will help the primary school students and not the universities, right? So then your target market is a very small segment of the entire industry, right? Let's say in the fashion industry is too broad, right? So it is about the apparels, the shoes, the accessories, and the different things that go into the fashion, right? But if you are targeting the baby segment, right, so then you are targeting a very small segment of the bigger industry, right? So that is why we have these two different feasibility analysis. One is the industry feasibility analysis, and the other one is the market feasibility analysis. there are two aspects of these as we discussed before. One is the industry attractiveness and the other one is the target market attractiveness. So industry attractiveness is different than the target market attractiveness. Let's say there are two industries I would mention. One is the mining industry and another one is the IT industry, right? So if you look at, or if you imagine both the industries, so one, IT industry, it is more innovative, it is more fast, the return on investment is huge, right? Even you can have $1 trillion company like Amazon, right? But on the other hand, if you look at the mining industry, right? So in the mining industry, there is no creativity. Uh, the scaling of the business is not too big, and definitely it requires a lot of time and a lot of human resources to earn some good amount of money, right? So which one attracts you more, right? The IT industry or the uh, mining industry, right? So that is what we mean. And there are different aspects. Definitely, another attractiveness could be like the amount of investment that is required. So in the mining industry, definitely you need few million rupees or dollars to start operating in this industry, right? But in the IT industry, you can start with as less as $100, right? So for some people, the attractiveness could be the ease of doing the business or ease of starting the business, right? So this is another aspect of starting the business, right? So that is industry attractiveness. The another aspect of the market feasibility analysis is the target market attractiveness, right? So target market attractiveness has different aspects at the same time, whether your target customers are easy to reach or they are hard to find. For example, in the health industry, right? If your target customers are the doctors, then they are really, really hard to get hold of because they are too busy, right? But on the other hand, if your target markets are the schools, are the principals, or maybe the headmasters of the schools, so probably they are not as busy as the doctors, right? And they are not as hard as the health industry. So the education sector, it doesn't have that much restrictions or the considerations when it comes to adopting new products. But definitely in the health sector, it is more difficult, right? And similarly, there are different aspects of the attractiveness. So this is the industry attractiveness, right? One, is the industry young and or old, right? So definitely a young is growing and the old is almost saturated, right? They are early rather than late in their life cycle. For example, mining, they are too old and they are in the very advanced level of the life cycle, while the IT industry is little bit new. In the IT industry, when it comes to like regular softwares, right? So that particular market is mature. Like let's say the search engine, right? So search engine is quite mature, right? But on the other hand, when it comes to the fintech or the what can I say, the bitcoins, or maybe the artificial intelligence, or maybe the virtual reality. So they are in the beginning stages of uh, so these markets are, the products are basically, there are not many companies in this area, so they are in the very beginning stages of their life cycle. By fragmented, we mean there are many small players and there is no dominant player in the market, right? So in the search engine, yes, it is like the Google and the Bing and some other companies, right? But in the let's say in your local restaurant industry or maybe the health sector, you can see there are many players, but no one single player is dominating the whole market, right? So that is what we mean by the fragmented and the concentrated. So you definitely want to go into a fragmented industry because there is no particular brand dominating the whole market, right? So it is a little bit easier to enter into that market. uh, Definitely, a growing market is always better than the shrinking market, right? Why it is shrinking? Because the somewhere somehow the technology has shifted, and with it the consumers are shifting to that new technology, a new paradigm, right? So you don't want to ride a dying horse, definitely, right? So that is what we mean by the growing and the shrinking industries. And similarly, the customers must have rather than, and again it is the vitamins and the painkillers examples, right? It is not too much crowded, there are not too many players in this market, because competition drags down the profitability, and most of the time the people, they compete based on the prices, not on the value, right? So whenever there is competition based on the prices, the producers, they lower the prices at the cost of reducing their profitability, which is not good, especially in the start of the business. And definitely the margins are important, right? How much money you make in per product, right? Let's say there are two different companies, both sell products at $100. One company, the profit margin is $25, and the other company earns $5 in one product. So which company performs better? Definitely the first company that have 25 that has $25 margin, right? So the operating margins are more important than the rest of the revenue and the sales and whatever you do, because the profit per product will determine how much productivity you earn over the entire period of time, let's say per month or per year time period, right? So these and are not highly dependent on the historically low price of the key raw materials, right? The second aspect of the industry and target market feasibility is the target market attractiveness, right? So the challenge is identifying an attractive market, right? That's large enough for the proposed business, but yet small enough to avoid attracting larger competition, because you don't want that as a new business, because you are short of resources, short of finances, and you cannot spend so much money on advertising and branding and influencers so that you beat the big players, right? So that is why you always go for those new areas, and you create new markets in the during the process, and then you become ultimately the king or the dominant player of that market, right? And definitely the bigger players with the money will follow you, but again you will have enough target customers you have logged with yourself through branding, through contracts, whatever you have done, right? And it will be hard for them to beat you once you have established yourself in the market, right? So this is always the key. So it is attractive enough but small enough. The third aspect of the feasibility analysis is the organizational feasibility, right? And what we check in this is basically we check whether we have the sufficient management expertise, whether you can find enough IT guys, enough marketing guys, talented management, so they can turn your idea into a viable business, right? So that is basically what is required, and focus on the non-financial resources. Two aspects again, one the management prowess, and the other one is the resource sufficiency. When it comes to the management prowess, definitely the passion and the vision of the sole entrepreneur or the founder and his team is important, right? If there is something, if there is something, uh, I would say the team doesn't have the same vision about the business, then definitely some of the guys, they would try, they would be continuously looking for opportunities outside the organization, which will result in lesser focus and lesser productivity within the startup, which create problems. And the extent to which the sole entrepreneur or the founding team understands and able to serve the markets, right? So their expertise is important. Again, I would go a little bit more detailed into this regarding the expertise. Now, diversity is important when it comes to expertise. For example, 4 IT guys cannot make an excellent team, right? Definitely 2 IT guys and 2 management guys can make an excellent team, a better team than the previous option, right? And at the same time, these 4 guys, 2 IT guys, fresh graduates, and one fresh graduate with 10 years experience guy, the other person, right? So it is better than the previous option, right? So definitely the expertise is not only about the similarity of the skills, rather the diversity, the number of years of experience, the graduation, the field of expertise, all of these are important, right? And you have made up a team that is diverse enough to better serve the market. That is the key to success. So that is what we mean by the management prowess. And the non-financial resources sufficiency, right? Uh, when it comes to the non-financial resources sufficiency, so these are some of the resources, right? Affordable office space, right? As a startup, you do not want to rent an expensive building or expensive office, right? So yes, whether or not you can find affordable offices in your locality or not, right? The lab space, manufacturing space, etc. The availability of contract manufacturers, the key management employees now and in the future, key support personnel, right? Ability to obtain intellectual property protection, right? Law and order situation plays a key role, right? You come up with a breakthrough idea, let's say, a song maybe, uh, or an IT product, or maybe any other, for example, energy drink, right? And then people come and they steal your idea, they steal your formula, how to protect your intellectual property, right? So the law and order situation again plays a key role, right? And how to protect, if the law and order situation is weak, then how you protect your idea, because it is the key to success, right? So if you cannot protect your intellectual property rights, right, some way, somehow, right, so then definitely it puts a question mark on the uh, feasibility of the business. And finally, the ability to perform, ability to form favorable business partnerships, right, with the suppliers, with the distributors, with the promoters, with influencers, and who else that you require for the successful launch of the business. The final one is the financial feasibility analysis, right? It is the preliminary financial assessment that is sufficient enough, right? These are the three different aspects. One, the total cash that is required. How to find whether how much cash you require. So maybe your business model can help you. And business model, there are two different areas of the business model. One is the key activities that you require. Maybe it is the marketing, maybe it is the training, maybe it's the distribution, maybe it's the establishing the supply chain, maybe it is establishing the platform, maybe whatever, right? Plus the cost. So the fixed cost and the variable cost, the total machinery cost, the office cost, and the variable cost, the salaries, the utility bills, the stationery, the marketing expenses, whatever that is it that you require, or maybe buying certain toolkits for your business that requires monthly subscriptions, right? So both the fixed cost and the variable cost will make up the total startup cash that is required, right? And at the same time, you require some money for the legal fee and buying domain and Facebook promotion. And so that is what we mean by the total startup cash that is required for the business. So do you have that money? When you do the calculation, do you have all that money? If not, how can you arrange for that money? Options can be bring in outside investors. It's some partnership or some shares maybe, right? Or maybe go to the bank, or maybe go to a business plan competition and and win the prize and use that money, right? So we'll discuss that in detail later on. So how much cash that is required? Another thing that you should consider during the target market analysis is the financial performance of the similar businesses, right? So how other businesses are performing, right? For example, you are opening up a restaurant, right? And you want to sell pizza, right? So definitely it is a good thing to know what the existing pizza producers are doing, right? How are they doing? How much cost? How much is their energy cost? What is the price of their pizza? And do they have any kind of like special kind of partnerships with the guys who provide them with the raw material, with the meat, with the chicken, with the flour, with the cheese, and any other thing that is required, right? Where have they established their businesses? Have they established their business at an expensive place or a low price place, right? So the financial performance of the similar business, how much wages, how much salaries they pay to their employees, how much is their cost on their marketing, right? What is the cost of per customer's acquisition, right? So these are the different aspects of the financial performance of the similar businesses, right? Definitely some of the information is very much exclusive and you cannot get into that information because they are your competitors and you are their competitors as well, right? But then you have to do some educated guesses at the same time, right? And do some ethical probing into their business, right? Some of the information is too obvious, which you can get hold of at no cost, right? And other times you have to think outside the box to get hold of that information. But again, ethics is important, morality is important when it comes to businesses. You do not want to involve in unethical practices because you yourself would not want your competitors to get into unethical practices, to get hold of the information that is too secretive, that is too exclusive, too classified for you, right? So yes, that is important. And the third aspect is the overall financial attractiveness of the proposed venture, right? Whether, I would say, whether this business is going to make you rich if you dreamed about becoming rich, whether or not this venture is going to solve a particular social issue which you wanted to solve in the first place when you try to start this business, right? So what is the overall financial attract, what is the overall feel about the financial attractiveness of the proposed venture? Yes, so this is further details, right? And yes, as we discussed before, involve a little ethical detective work, right? And then this is the financial factors associated with promising business opportunities, right? Steady and rapid growth in sales, percentage of recurring revenue, ability to forecast income and expenses. Surety is important, definitely. Internally generated funds, right? How much you can generate or your partners can generate from your own resources, and how much you require from the outside resources. By outside resources, we mean the outside investors, maybe these angel investors, maybe the bank loans, maybe the venture capital if you require more money, right? Or maybe, as I said, the outside the box thinking, maybe take you to business plan competitions and apply for different challenges and competitions to earn that money. Availability of an exit opportunity for investors to convert equity into cash, right? So definitely that is important. You started a business that cost $1 million, let's say, right? And in 3 years' time, could you sell that business for $10 million, right? So in 3 years' time, the worth goes from $1 million to $10 million, so $9 million along the way. So 3 years of hard work, maybe it is it enough for you guys, right? So can you do that? This is what we mean by the exit strategy. Right, so this is, I guess this is enough for today, right? So this is our financial feasibility analysis. I will share some more examples on my page, and from there you can get access to that other information, right? So if you have any questions, so please ask me in the comments. Thank you.